good, YouTube? As you can tell from the title and thumbnail, we're running back another Warzone weapon tier list, and of course, it is the fully updated Season 5 gun tier list with all the new guns, everything. Of course, though, if I do miss any guns at all, because it's always not the easiest to tell if I miss any, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll probably reply and let you guys know what I think of it and what tier it should go in. But I definitely don't want a super long intro, so real quick, if you guys are new here, hit the sub button, leave a like, leave a comment, hit that bell to be notified when I upload my daily videos. Without further ado, pop straight into the tier list. All right, so starting with the number one gun on the list, of course, you guys can already see it, the C58, which actually did just get a nerf. I still need to drop a video on that. Stay tuned for that soon. But the gun is still super top tier. Still has really good damage. They just added a little bit more recoil to it, which is still super controllable. So this is still S tier. This is still the best assault rifle in the game, up there with the Krig and all the other stuff. It's definitely still top tier. Super viable still. The FAR, of course, went through so many nerfs. Was at one point the most versatile gun we had in the game, and it's still alright, but it's definitely not what it once was. I don't think this is a very good gun anymore. I'm gonna have to put it B tier because I just don't think it competes with the meta and what the current guns are right now. There's no reason you should be putting an FAR in your class setup. Next up is the Cold War AK, another solid gun. I don't think it's that good, but it is still a good secondary. It's definitely not a good primary. I think it's in the same boat as the FAR, that at one point it was definitely one of the top secondaries in the game when we had that double AR meta. But right now, I just don't think it's that good. The Grah, really haven't used it much recently. I don't know how it currently is, honestly. I see nobody using it, so that's a bad sign. I'd honestly probably rather have the FAR over it, but I definitely don't think it's C tier. So I think it's already my third gun in B tier. It's definitely not that good. With all the weapon balancing we had, they nerfed and buffed a ton of different guns. The game's in a weird spot right now, but the Grah definitely is not being used very much right now. The Faro, once again, a meta gun. Not anymore. It was nerfed a ton. I don't think this gun is good whatsoever. Now, I pick it up off ground loot sometimes here and there, and it is genuinely terrible. I definitely don't think it's as good as the AK or FAR. Comparing to the Grah, I mean, Grah is probably better up close, but the Faro is just, in my opinion, bad all around. I'm definitely either going to put it high C tier or low B tier. So for now, I'll set it down and see, and we'll come back later if I do want to change it. But that's where we're putting it for now. The QBZ. Okay, I see a ton of people on my TL and on my comments everywhere gassing this gun to me. Okay, like, I don't understand it personally. The gun is pretty solid. Definitely not meta. I don't think it's a top tier gun in the game. But it's definitely more viable than all the guns we've already put down except the C58. I'm gonna have to probably put it high B tier or A tier. I definitely think this is a gun that we're all going to disagree with in my comments, but in my personal opinion, in the current meta that we're looking at right now, I'm going to have to put it high B tier. High B tier. I definitely don't think it's A tier, and it's most definitely not S tier. Next up is the Krig 6. I hate this gun so much. I literally hate that it's so good, but this is S tier right now. This thing is ridiculous. It has zero recoil. Again, this is another gun they just tried to nerf along with the C58. For some reason, they didn't add any recoil to it, but they did drop the damage of it. So again, it still has zero recoil. You cannot miss a bullet with this thing. Any player on the game, even a terrible bot player, can beam with this thing. It definitely doesn't have the damage C58 does. That's why, in my opinion, the C58 is better. It's definitely a meta type gun. I still see pros using it, even in custom tourneys. Like, I just ran the $75,000 Twitch Rivals, and half the lobby was running the Krig. So it's definitely a top tier gun. Next up is the XM4. Again, an old meta, double AR meta. It's pretty solid right now. It's definitely not as good as the QBZ. So I'm going to put a B tier right behind the QBZ. I do want to kind of start flying through these guns because, as you guys can tell, there is so many guns in the game right now. So we're gonna keep flying through this, but yeah, the XM4 is pretty solid right now. It's not that good, it's not that bad. I'm actually gonna bump the QBZ up to A tier because I do know it's really solid. So it's better than the XM4 FAR, all that stuff, so it has to go up a tier. The XM4 itself is not that amazing anymore. Hopping into the Modern Warfare AK-47. I hate this gun really bad right now and always has been bad. I'll probably put it right there with the Grah and everything. I definitely think it's better than the Faro. The Faro is really bad right now in my opinion, but I'll probably put it B tier. It's really not that good. Not a gun you should be using. The Ram 7, I'm pretty sure this was nerfed at one point, but it's still pretty solid. It's a heavy Mk gun, but it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. I'm definitely gonna put it at a decently high level. I don't see anybody putting it on their class ups anymore, but I think it's gonna fit right in this range with these other guns. I'm gonna put it just right smack dab in the middle of the AK and the FAR. This is not in any specific order. I just think it's in B tier with them. It's definitely not A or S tier anymore. At one point, everybody was definitely trying it, but it's not that good anymore. Next up is the Grah 556. Of course, we just keep going to these past meta guns. It's another solid gun. It's still pretty decent. It does good damage, and it, again, has no recoil. It's a Krig type gun. I think it's better than everything in B tier, honestly. I think it's gonna be a high B tier. It could be A tier, honestly, but I don't think it's A tier anymore or S tier anymore. It's gonna be high B tier. B tier is going to be the most common column in this tier list, but it's better than the XM4, the FAR, everything. It's still actually a viable gun. It's just not good in this current meta that we're in right now. So it's decent. Not something you should be using. The AMAX. Okay, this was my baby, bro. I loved the AMAX so much. Literally probably my favorite meta in the entire game we ever had. But they nerfed it into the ground. I tried using it the other day, and it's terrible. Like, not terrible, but the recoil feels disgusting, like awful. And the damage is still there. Honestly, with even how bad the recoil it is, it's still top of B tier. It's not A tier anymore. So sad to say that. Literally, like I said, my favorite gun to ever use in Warzone, but it's pretty bad right now. It's still somewhat good. Still somewhat usable. High B tier. The Kilo 141. See, this gun is different. It's actually not bad. The only problem with the Kilo is it has amazing damage at close to medium range with 0 recoil. But once you get to that long range, the damage drop off is incredible. Like, you literally have to pump a whole mag or two into somebody at range. So with that being said, it's still better than almost every gun in B tier right now. I might take it over the AMAX. I actually, like, this might surprise you guys. I actually am gonna bump it up into A tier, because like I said, it's better than every gun in B tier, and actually it's actually really good close to medium range. Just the damage drop off doesn't let you use it long range. In the current meta, of course, it's not going to be S tier meta, but it's definitely up here with the QBZ without a doubt in my mind. It's actually really not that bad. Next up is the M13. Another gun, no recoil, 0 damage, a lot like the Krig, but it's the Modern Warfare version. Never really been good, but so many people love it for no reason. In my opinion, the gun's terrible, genuinely terrible. I would actually rather have any gun in B tier over it. And in my personal opinion, it's C tier. If I catch you guys running a M13 and you class it up, I just got to question what you guys are doing. I have no idea why you're using that gun. But moving on to the AN94, which it has like a little double round first shot thing. This gun's terrible. I don't even really gotta talk about it. Like, this gun's really bad. I'm gonna toss it straight up C tier. The FAL. This gun is only good in a hacker's hand. I'm telling you guys, you never see anybody run this gun unless their name's Grumpy Pants and they're aimbotting you from 250 meters out. You know what I'm saying? Rapid fire and hard aimbot. So definitely not a gun you should be using on your own unless you have hacks. The gun's really not that good. It shoots pretty slow now. The damage isn't as good as it once was. I think I might actually put a C tier down here with the FAL, or not the FAL, the Faro. The Scar, really good damage. I've always liked this gun, actually. Just, it only has like, what, a 30 mag? That's terrible. It has terrible recoil, no range. It's another C tier gun, honestly. If you're running the Scar in Warzone, again, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So next up is the Modern Warfare M4A1. The gun's actually always been really reliable. It's super good. It's like the old reliable of Warzone. At one point was the best gun in the game. It's actually not bad. It's definitely not C tier. It's going to be up here in B tier. I would actually, like, if you set it up right, it's still super good in the current season 5 weapon meta. Of course, it's not meta itself, but it's usable. So I'm putting it up there with the Grah and AMAX for sure. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. Next up is the Odin, another gun that does such good damage, has such good attributes to it, but there's so many things on the downside: low mag size, recoil, fire rate, everything. It's another, I would have to say, C tier gun. It has to be another C tier gun. It's down here with the Faro without a doubt in my mind. The FAMAS, the Modern Warfare F2. Terrible gun. Literally, the only time this gun was ever good was when the underbarrel shotgun was good and we had infinite range with 1-shot potential. You know what I'm saying? Gun's terrible, awful, bad. Moving on to the AS Val. At one point, I think it might still be, I don't know if it's changed, but it at one point was the #1 time to kill in Warzone. It actually did just receive a nerf, if I'm not wrong. But it's still super good. It has to be up here for sure. It's not A or S tier, but I'm going to put it above the XM4 because up close, unfortunately, like I said with the other guns, it doesn't have a 30 mag, but like I was saying, up close, it's wild. Like, you will shred somebody, especially in solos or duos. It's not going to be too crazy in quad, which is crazy for me to say because I actually dropped 55 in quads with the AS Val. It's actually my PR, so the gun's pretty wild. It's pretty good. It's just not meta. Next up is the PPSH. Okay, getting back to Cold War guns. These guns are pretty good. They have good mobility, all Cold War guns. The PPSH itself has great mobility, great movement speed, everything about it's a W. Really except its damage. You're gonna get outgunned by like an OTS or a Cold War 5 or even a Mk2 in most parts, but it's still really solid. I'm gonna have to put it top of B tier. Of course, it's super viable right now. The meta is really ran right now by Cold War guns, so you'll probably see that with the tier list once we're done. But next up is the Mk2 A tier gun. A tier gun without a doubt. I'm probably gonna put it front of A tier. Now that I'm actually looking here, I think I'm gonna drop the Kilo down. But the Mk2 is 100% A tier. It's one of the top 3 SMGs in the game right now. If I wasn't such a fan of the other SMGs, I'd probably put the Mk2 in S tier. Super solid, really good damage. Well, actually not really good damage. It really struggles with damage up close, but really good recoil, really good range. Everything is, like I said, top 3 SMG in the game. Next up is the Milano. I hate this gun with a passion. I've never liked it. It's still a decent gun. Gonna put it B tier, just quick and fast. LC10, another gun like the Milano, pretty decent, does good damage. It's a viable gun, just like the Kilo. Another B tier, like I told you guys. B tier is gonna be super filled up because of how many guns we have in the game and how average all these guns are. So next up is the Cold War MP5. Listen, guys, if you guys watch my YouTube videos, you guys know how I feel about this Cold War MP5. It's incredible. It's literally incredible. I don't know what they did, if they reverted the nerf, but this thing is amazing. This and the OTS are my 2 favorite SMGs in the game. I'm gonna put it A tier only because I love the other ones so much, but it's a very, very high A tier, close to S tier. I'm telling you guys, the Cold War 5 is disgusting. If you guys haven't used it in a long time, you gotta use it. Next up, the KSP. It's a burst SMG. It's terrible. I don't think anyone ever uses this gun. C tier, awful. Nail gun at one point was actually broken when it first released, but nowadays it got nerfed heavy. It's really not that good. It's actually floor loot now, but it's definitely not that good. I think it's better than everything C tier. It's actually not terrible. So I'm gonna put it B tier. I'm gonna put it B tier. Move on. Next up is the 74U. I've never really been a fan of it. It's not that good. Doesn't have good range or damage or anything. But I'm gonna put it B tier because, like I keep saying, it's another one of those average guns. So it's usable, but not that good. Bullfrog, A tier, easy. Like I said about the other SMGs, it's a top tier SMG. Like the meta SMGs goes from all different players, all different preferences. Cause like I keep saying, the SMG meta is wide open. It's really just preference. I see pro players run the Bullfrog. I see pro players run the Mk2. I see select few running the Cold 1v5 because everybody sleeps on it, and then obviously the OTS is up there. The UMP45, like I was saying earlier, the Cold War guns really run the meta right now. Most Modern Warfare guns got nerfed into the ground. Like the UMP45 is just not good. It's actually, I think it's gonna be my first F tier gun. It's gonna be my first F tier gun because it's just so bad. Like the damage it puts out, the fire rate, everything about the SMG just does not compete on so many levels that it's just F tier. You know what I'm saying? It's just simply not good. If you guys are running the UMP45, again, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So MP7, it's actually a good Modern Warfare gun, I will say. It's pretty solid, has good range, everything about it's pretty decent. It's pretty well rounded, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely good sniper support as well. I'm gonna put it front of B tier because, like I said, people do sleep on this as well. It actually does pretty solid damage, and of course it's good sniper support, so pretty solid. Next up is the AUG from Modern Warfare. I'm pretty sure it actually got buffed with the big nerfs and buffs that happened, that they lowered the game's TTK, but it's pretty decent. I think it's right in the same boat. It's another average gun. I'm just going to toss it randomly in the middle of B tier. The Finnick, actually coming off of a nerf because they broke it at one point and made it hit scan. But it's really buffed because they increased the bullet velocity. It's pretty decent. Another one of those guns with the fire rate that makes it only good in solos and duos. Nothing too crazy about the gun. I think, again, we're talking about another average gun. We're going to put it right in the middle of B tier. Like I told you guys earlier, this is not in order. These are just in the same boat as each other. But the Finnick is pretty decent. Nothing crazy. P90, it's C tier. It's not a good gun. Never was a good gun. The PP Bison, I actually just dropped a banger video with this not too long ago. And I actually saw Odin, I believe, drop a world record with this gun. It's actually pretty good. It has a high mag size. Not amazing damage, but good, all well-rounded. I think it's another gun that we're going to have to put in the average spot. It's going to be another B tier. The OG MP5. I'm pretty sure they actually just nerfed it, but it's still pretty good. I think it's going to be another A tier SMG. All these SMGs are so good. But yeah, the OG MP5 is super good up close. It's ridiculous. Does great damage. It's definitely viable still. 100%. Of course, it's A tier. Next up is the Modern Warfare Uzi. Not very good in my opinion at all. It's been through so many buffs, nerfs. Everything is kind of weird. I don't know why they even touched this gun. But it's another, I think it's gonna be another C tier gun. I think it's gonna be front of C tier because if you, with the right attachments, it actually is pretty usable. But it's just like I keep saying about these guns, they just don't compete with the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So everything in here like relates to another thing. You know what I'm saying? Like these ARs are down here because they don't compete with these. You know what I'm saying? So moving on to the ISO. This gun is terrible. I'm putting it F tier just for the fact that so many people in my Twitch streams, my YouTube comments, they love the ISO, but it's so bad in my opinion. I don't know why they like the gun so much. Of course, if I'm being realistic, it is lower C tier. So is the UMP45 really. Yeah, we'll put this C tier as well. But both those guns are so bad. You know what I'm saying? Street Sweeper, of course, it's such a dumb gun. I hate the Street Sweeper so much, but it's another decent gun. I'm probably gonna put it top of B tier because it did actually receive a few nerfs. It's not even the best shotgun in the game anymore, but it's pretty solid. It's actually pretty solid. The Gallow Shotgun, see, this is the best shotgun in the game. I'm debating whether A or S tier because up close you are not beating the Gallow. You know what I'm saying? I think just for the fact that it is the best in its class, I think I am gonna actually put it S tier. Like I was saying earlier, I ran the Twitch Rivals customs today against a ton of pro players, and running into this Gallow hurt my heart, bro. This gun is not fun to run into. It's overpowered. It's disgusting. It's really, really not fun to run into up close, like I keep saying. So that's probably the best shotgun in the game, best of its class, so it has to be S tier. Next up is the Hauer. If you guys ever been to my Twitch streams, this thing off floor loot is awful. You know what I'm saying? This thing is terrible, but it's not like it's not super unusable. Like if you put the movement on somebody, you can one pump somebody. But it's definitely not good. I'm gonna put it C tier. I hate the Howler with a fiery passion, so don't use the Howler at all. The Origin, literally have not touched this gun in months. I have no idea if it's good or bad. I got nerfed a million times, but I will say I think I'd rather have the Howler, so I am gonna put a C tier. The VLK Rogue, really all of these Modern Warfare shotguns are bad. I think we can literally just pump all these MW shotguns in here. Other than this, the R9 fire shotgun actually did make a comeback. I think it's pretty average, so we'll put it in B tier. But the JAK 12, very, very good gun. A lot of people don't actually know it's so good. I'm gonna put it top of B tier. It's definitely a very viable shotgun. Like I said, not that many people know about it. At one point, it was better than the Street Sweeper before the nerf, and nobody knew about it, so it's pretty solid. Next up is the Stoner LMG. It's S tier. In my opinion, it is the meta right now. If you guys didn't already see, I just dropped a video on it, dropping an absolute banger with it for you guys. But the gun is ridiculous. I don't know what they did to it, or if it was just all the other nerfs to the C58 and stuff that made it so good. But if you toss up 4 times on that gun and you do the right setup, it's ridiculous. Like, it literally is just insane. You can scope in, there's no recoil, the damage just shreds people. It's 100% the meta right now without a doubt in my mind, so definitely, if you guys haven't already, use the Stoner. The MG82, I'm pretty sure this is called the LMG that ran the game for about a week, then got heavy nerfed. It's pretty average right now. It's really not that good. The M60, terrible. The RPD, another gun I've really never given a try. It's really not that fun to use. I don't even think I've ever built a full class setup with it. It's mainly just floor loot that I've used it. But I'm just gonna go out here on a limb and just say it's another average gun. If you guys disagree with me on that one, you guys can let me know in the comments. But the Bruin is actually not that bad right now. I'm gonna put it in average again. A nice B tier. Not too good, not too bad. The Holger, it's an awful gun. It's literally terrible. It's C tier. I think this is the MG82. I think I missaid the other LMG. I don't know the exact name of the other one, but the MG82 right here, terrible. It's not a good gun. I think it's worse than the Bruin, so I'm gonna put it in C tier somewhere. It's just really not that good, you know what I'm saying? The M91, again, not very good. It's definitely not as good as the Bruin PKM Stoner, so it's gonna be another C tier gun. And then of course we have the PKM, which in my opinion is better than the PKM. And at one point this was the best LMG in Warzone, but now the Stoner took over, so I think it's gonna be another B tier LMG, but I think it's just gonna be top of B tier, above the Bruin, and then not A tier or S tier. Of course, it has to be below the Stoner. But next up is the LA87, I believe this is called. Another gun that never really was dominant, never really was good, but it was usable. I think nowadays meta, if you're using this gun, of course, like I said again, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason for you to have this in a class setup. It's another C tier gun. The Finn LMG, a gun actually a lot of people sleep on. I feel like if you have the right build with this thing, it rips people apart. It actually has pretty decent damage. If you guys haven't used the Finn in a long time, you should definitely try it again. But it's another one of those guns that's average, not usable in this meta. Really, it's not as good as the Bruin, of course, but of course it's better than the M91 in my opinion. The DMR at one point, probably the most broken gun we've ever seen in Warzone, but now it's been through so many nerfs. Actually, I think it got buffed in the most recent nerfs and buffs, but still super average. It's not going to be A tier, S tier. I think I'm going to put it right smack dab in the middle of B tier. It's usable. The Carve, for the Gulag's sake, that's F tier. If anybody debates with me in the comments about that Carve, I gotta delete your comment, bro. The Carve is the worst gun I've ever used in Warzone. The M16, another gun at one point was dominant, is really not that good anymore. I'm gonna toss it into C tier. Again, don't use the M16. You know what I'm saying? You're putting yourself at such a disadvantage. Next up is the Cold War AUG. Again, like we just said for the M16, at one point was dominating the game as the really most dominant metas that we've seen in a long time, because that burst meta was wild. Again, not that good anymore. I think it's in the same boat as the M16. It's really bad nowadays, actually. I think it's floor loot right now, and every time I pick it up, I get super unhappy because the gun is literally terrible. Next up is the Type 63. Around when the DMR meta was, it's really never been as good as the DMR. Same boat as the M16 and AUG. Really not good. It's not even average. It's below average, like all these other guns. So we have both crossbows from both games. Of course, as you guys can see, I added an NA tab because as I was thinking, there is some guns I still haven't used. And of course, double crossbows, I've never used either. You guys can let me know down in the comments below. I don't think those guns are very good at all, but like I said, never used them. The SKS, terrible gun, literally awful. I'd actually probably rather have a lot of guns and see. I'm gonna put it F tier. Some of you guys might disagree with me on that, but it's terrible. The EBR, lower C tier. It's a below average gun. Mk2 Carbine, you guys know I have an opinion on this gun. It's terrible. If I catch you around on Verdansk using Mk2 Carbine, you're a free lick. I'm telling you guys, the gun is awful. Maybe it's good in multiplayer, maybe it's good in S&D, but it's not meant for Warzone. Okay, do not be using that gun. The Kar 98 has to be S tier. Has to be S tier. It's literally disgusting. Probably the best sniper in the game right next to the Swiss, which isn't even a sniper. It's a marksman rifle. It has great mobility, ADS speed, damage, no drop. You know what I'm saying? The Kar 98 is that gun. It's the S tier sniper in the game. Next up is the SPR. Again, another gun that at one point was broken. Not quite anymore. I'm gonna probably put it B tier because again, it's another average gun. It's really not the best sniper, but it's not the worst sniper. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty decent. Next up is the Pellington. Terrible. I literally hate this sniper, especially for Warzone. Tossing it into C tier. The Swiss, like I was just telling you guys, it's really good. I've really not used it too much. I dropped a video on it. I actually dropped a 30 bomb with it. I am gonna say it's A tier because it's like that one step down from the Kar 98 in my opinion, but super good still. Next up is the Tundra. Terrible gun, right next to the Pellington. The Barrett 50 cal in Warzone, not awful. I'm gonna put it in average. I think it's better than the Pellington and the Tundra, but it's pretty average. The ZRG does amazing damage, but the bolt speed, the only 3 bullets in a mag, and the mobility of it, all terrible. I am gonna probably put it right next to the Pellington and stuff. It's really not that good. The AX50, I'm gonna put in B. It's another very average sniper. HDR, another at one point probably was S tier sniping gameplay, but it's not early Warzone anymore. I'm probably gonna put it top of B tier. Again, another average gun. Next up is the Rytek. Never used the gun. I have to put that in A. Dragunov, never really tried it in Warzone. Again, another NA. My bad. The Magnum, the Cold War Magnum, actually, literally I've never used for 1 second in Warzone. The AM63, super good gun off floor loot and a super good gun in loadies. It's actually really solid, especially for a ghost class. I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's not quite the Diamatti, but it's super solid. It's super solid. Next up is the Riot Shield, not even a weapon. I'm just gonna toss it in A because it doesn't really deserve a ranking. The 1911, literally hate this gun. It's our new floor loot or spawn in pistol. It's not terrible. It does decent damage. I'm gonna put it in C tier. It's below average. It doesn't have enough bullets, and I hate it being our spawn pistol. The Diamatti, in my opinion, the most goated pistol we've ever had in Warzone, other than these shotgun pistols. I'm telling you guys, this thing is probably the go-to ghost pistol for everybody. If you guys aren't, you're messing up. I'm telling you guys, this is an A tier pistol. Okay, hear me out. If you're not running your ghost class with the Diamatti, like I just said, what are you doing? Then we start jumping into all the pistols. We have the Modern Warfare pistols. I don't really think all of these are good. We'll go out on a limb and say they're all akimbo. Okay, so akimbo vibes with the X16. Nothing crazy. I think it's C tier. Renetti at one point, very good. Nothing anymore. C tier. Deagle, C tier, is below average. It's really not good, but it still is better than the Carve. M19, I actually really like these. These are B. Akimbo M19s are ridiculous. The damage they do, insane. Still always been good. Other 1911s, same boat as the other 1911s. Awful. Bad. The Magnum, the old snake shots. I'm gonna go ahead and toss in probably to C tier. It's really not that good. Is that the Psykov? I believe it's the Psykov, which have gone through a million nerfs. But they still do really good damage. Probably better than all the other pistols. Relating it to the other pistols, I'm gonna put it B tier compared to these pistols. They're decent, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, they do damage and they have a mag, so it's good for a ghost class. RPGs, I'm not gonna rank any RPGs. If you guys are using RPGs in Warzone, please quit, bro. Actually, as you guys can see, all we have left is the Thumper and melee weapon, so we'll probably just wrap that up there. This is my final Warzone Season 5 tier list. As you can see, the meta, the Stoner, C58, Krig, Gallow, and Kar 98. I do realize I'm missing the OTS SMG, so just use your imagination. Imagine there's a little picture of an OTS in here. I guess the tier list didn't include that yet. So the OTS is 100% the best SMG in the game right now. But like I said in the intro, I don't know if I'm missing anything else. So if I am, let me know down in the comments below. And if I am, let me know your opinion on the guns. But overall, let's debate, you know, tell me what you guys think about the tier list, if I should change anything. Also, remember, if I put an AR in S tier, I gotta relate it to the other ones. So as you guys can see, don't be confused about the pistols. Like I was saying, these are relating to the other pistols, and that's why they're there. Vice versa for all the gun categories. Just use that. Let me know your opinion on my tier list, like I said. But of course, that is my Season 5 tier list. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one.